Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of these end times. As I am sure most of you are well aware by now, all this week, the American Embassy in Tel Aviv, Israel, has been flying the rainbow flag of the homosexual movement. And the British Embassy followed suit, and they also hoisted up a rainbow flag. And they are celebrating Gay Pride Week in Israel, where they promote sodomy. In fact, I have mentioned several times on this program that Israel is spending hundreds of millions of dollars to promote Tel Aviv as the gay capital of the world. And let me read this headline from an article in Haaretz. And there's the picture of the Gay Pride Parade. And they said, now this article is dated today, June 14th, Tel Aviv Gay Pride Parade draws 100,000. Parade is high point of Gay Pride Week that began on Sunday, in which some 30,000 tourists were expected to take part. And here's the paragraph I would be most interested in. Throughout the week, City Hall and Rabin Square has been lit with rainbow-colored lights, and for the first time, the rainbow flag was hoisted this year alongside the U.S. flag outside the American Embassy in the city. And of course, this is a fulfillment of Bible prophecy. Don't forget, God's punishment on Sodom and Gomorrah was not just to indicate his attitude towards homosexuality, but it was also a prophecy of these end times. Jesus said the end times would be as in the days of Lot. And this will lead to Israel's downfall. Let's look at what the great prophet Daniel says in his chapter number 9, verse 11. Yes, all Israel have transgressed thy law, and have turned away from hearing thy voice, and the curse which is written in the book of Moses, the servant of God, is fallen upon us, because we have sinned against him. Now this is a prophecy from Daniel to the modern nation of Israel. He is telling you people in Israel today that God is about to fulfill his covenant with you. And that is that if you abandon the laws of Moses, then the curse will come upon you. And what is that curse? The prophesied curse is that you will be ruled by your enemies. And that is about to happen. And John also refers to Israel as a haven for homosexuality in the book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse number 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city. Now John is writing about the two witnesses, Enoch and Elijah, who are killed by the Antichrist, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. John is obviously specifying the end times city of Jerusalem. Now the false prophets all over YouTube are not going to warn you people in the nation of Israel that God is about to fulfill that covenant. He is about to bring the curse upon you, and you are about to be ruled by your enemies. They want to feed you pillows and cushions. However, I also must admit that not everything is bad news, because God also promised that he will send Michael to help you in these end times. Let's read what Daniel says in chapter 12, verse number 1. But at that time shall Michael rise up, the great prince. This is the archangel Michael, who stands for the children of thy people. And of course, Daniel's people are the Jews. And a time shall come such as never was, from the time that nations began even until that time, Jesus said that these end times will be the worst in the entire history of mankind. And at that time shall thy people be saved. But then Daniel adds a disclaimer. Every one that shall be found written in the book. In other words, a remnant of Israel will be saved. Now I realize that many of you in Israel do not pay much heed to the words of Jesus or the words of John. But you certainly must listen to the words of the great Old Testament prophet Daniel. And Daniel is telling us here that a remnant of Israel will be saved. But after you lose your sovereignty, then you will remember what I have been telling you. And you will remember the words of Jesus in his Matthew's Olivet Discourse. Chapter 24, verse 15. When therefore you shall see the abomination of desolation, which was spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, let him that reads understand. Then let them that are in Judea flee into the mountains. Now I fully realize that most Jews in Israel do not support the homosexual agenda any more than most Americans. However, it is obvious that your government and my government are spending hundreds of millions to promote sodomy. And this fulfills Bible prophecy. And Bible prophecy also says that Israel will be ruled by her enemies. And that is when you must flee into the mountains. As bad as sodomy is, the abomination of desolation that Daniel is talking about is when Israel will be invaded by the prince of Persia. That is when you must flee, and the remnant of Israel will be saved and protected. And if you would like to know more about the great prophecies of Daniel and how I have unsealed his last 6 great vision chapters, please visit my new ThirdEagleMedia.com website.